Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Off to Battle, and we are currently looking at some fine dinosaurs. So, how did I come to be here? Well, I am playing as Tehenhauin for the Cult of Sotek, and this is what I would consider to be my mid-game army, and I am well into like 140-ish turns. I am facing another Lizardmen faction. For whatever reason, we're not actually seeing them there. But I wanted to show what I'm doing, not simply talk about it. There I have a sort of Scar veteran who just got a shiny new Carnosaur. So that's our best anti-large option. I would normally have my starting Skink Chief on the regular Stegodon, but he has an Ancient Stegodon because he was just hitting level 40 and I wanted the option. Now, I have some completely basic Skink cohorts with Javelins, and you may see that their stats are a little higher than normal. And that's because of the buffs that Tehenhauin is giving them, and to some degree tax, and I can't remember if I have the right of Sotek going or not, but yeah, that's a bit better than usual. And so these are our red-crested skins. So you see that their melee attack is 56 on paper, but since they have Frenzy, that's going to have plus 10 added to that. So in effect, these are Tier 1 armor-piercing infantry with 80 armor rather than 30, and that's because of Tex, Tehenhauin, and one of the rights that adds 10 armor to everything. So, in effect, 66 melee attack and 57 melee defense. But they still have no shields, and that's going to be a problem. I have 3 Croxagors, and I used to have 4, I took one out, and that was to deal with a weird vampire coast army that was attacking me that had 6 animated Hulk units, which is highly unusual. Anyway, the reason I haven't changed them out for Sacred Croxagors is because there are some dwarfs still on my part of the map in Lustria, and because I haven't needed to. The basic Croxagor at rank 7 that these guys are now, they're pretty decent, and decent is all I need. So, otherwise this is a little bit of a mess, but that's how it goes. First of all, you always take skirmish mode off these skink cores with javelins. You don't want them to actually run away. I use chameleon skinks as screening units or for flanking, but there really is no need for flanking here. I'm just using them to take some hits and weaken the enemy and slow the enemy down as they come. My old starting Salamander Hunting Pack, quite high rank, they're going to help with dealing with large units. And my Legion of Chakwa here, Regiment of Renown, but basically a very low tier Regiment of Renown. They have special stuff to deal with missile fire, but we're not fighting high outs. So often what I do on this map is I just put the red-crested skinks here in the forest because they cannot be actually hurt while they're in there. And in this case, I'll also do something similar-ish for these guys so that they don't get hit by, basic chaff. This is our starting Ark of Sotek Bastillodon. And we want him in the middle of anything that's, heavy. Tehenhauin, where do we put him? Now, I also moved Heaven, Haha, and Earth to get a Skink Priest of Heavens. And this is why I don't have Lord Croak in the army. It's because it's absolutely, completely overkill. There's no need. I put him in the other army that you'll see later. Now, we'll start the battle and first get an idea where the enemy is. And because I'm not a legendary player, I will totally pause it here. Aha! This is, I think, from the garrison. Sacred Croxagors, that's a problem. Cold One Spear Riders, that's a problem. Etc. And somebody's firing a special ability at one of my guys. I don't like that. I like the Wizard, okay. And those guys are going to be a problem for my dinos if I allow it to be. Just to return the favor. And that's a bound spell, so he can fire those off without any consequences whatsoever. Okay, let's see what we're dealing with. So, in this campaign, I haven't actually faced Lizardmen very much, but let's just say that the Sentinels of Zeti are in the way of the greater plan, and their interpretation of the great plan is insufficiently great. So, it shall be corrected. So you see that those chameleon skinks are giving those sacred Croxagores a bit of a problem. There's no point in me being shy about this. I'm just going to charge the spears there because that's what they're for. These Croxagores are out of the way, and I have no need to be shy about this. So what I'm aiming for, a normal skink cohort. Well, I'll just let them play with that. The aim of this is, first of all, to make myself immune to defeat, if that's at all possible. So I'm just aiming to not have everything blow up in my face, if it will. I'm not going to micro on the same level as the computer here, but that's fine. I'll send Tehenhauin to help with that. Now, I have one of my core abilities, the Jungle Swarm, which is from Sacrifice. So that's very important. Yeah, I'll go help out the Carnosaur there. I don't want him to be in there for that long without any help. Now I'm just pausing it to take a better look myself at what's actually going on. I thought that maybe I would be able to deal with some stuff here with the Salamanders, but not as much as I liked. So they are on a mad flank, and that's fine. So I have the... This guy should be firing. Hopefully he is. The Scar veterans are definitely coming to try and take a piece out of my large units, and probably the hunting pack if they actually get there. Those Croxagores are in pretty bad shape. I'm going to send you here and send you here because that's the best spot for you. So they have one chameleon skink unit. That's great. Let's try and do something about that. So that's going fine. I don't need to worry about that. So you see that the Croxagores are, when they are hitting, they're actually taking those guys down more. Let's try a Curse of Arna here to help out with that. See, this is what we're not afraid of. Now we can do more here, but it's not really that necessary. They're just not doing that much to us in our position. The Legion there is getting wrecked pretty badly. So, is this the cleanest battle? Goodness no. But we were facing pretty decent opposition compared to what a lot of stuff earlier in the campaign was. But here's the thing. I can afford to lose these crossovers. I can afford to lose a Regiment of Renown. The squishier units have been maintained. Which is just, if I needed them, they would be there. The Carnosaur got beat up, but he was going after their lord. That's acceptable. It doesn't have to be perfect. In this case, it's just, I had limitations according to where I was in the campaign, what my buildings were, what was available, and I did something with them. Because often your opponent is not truly the enemy on the battlefield. Your opponent is the accountant. It's not having the money to do everything that you want to. I cranked up the settings for the video, so it was making the loading a little bit slower. So here we see what's been going on. Tehenhauin didn't do that much in this battle. This priest did a ton. That comet just cleared out a bunch of chaff that was annoying with my source here, but you see the damage value is quite high. That's because he was beating up on the Slan. He contributed. They held the line. These guys just killed off some cavalry and stuff on the flank. Chameleon Skinks, they quietly did some work. The Javelins did some okay work. Ark of Sotek didn't face huge blobs, so not that much. Yeah, so one there didn't do much because it wasn't participating in the battle. This one did a lot, beating up on, well, Scar Veterans and Sora stuff. This one too, Salamander Hunting Pack. But you look at the right side of the screen, and those guys got wiped out because I was hitting the garrison. Now, they retook this from me. I don't actually need to retake it, sacking it or messing with it. And in this case, I'm going to avoid doing so because it'll just be unnecessary. Good item here. Province secured. Enemies killed in battle, and here's my other armor. And what I did with this was I got 3 Stegodons, normal, regular Stegodons. For normal use, you don't really need more than this. And that's the thing. There is such a thing as a Stegodon Doomstack, absolutely. But you don't need it. In order to take down towers efficiently, these guys can take down 2 towers and 1 wall and not be completely out of ammunition fairly comfortably. I have a couple of Ancient Salamanders for also hitting walls if that's what I'm doing. I have the Umbral Tide just to do some good anti-large work on anything that's not super armored. These guys fill spaces. Chameleon Stalkers are for hitting artillery. I have a mix of Red-Crested Skinks, the Regiment of Renown is stuffed in there. But these guys are for hitting regular infantry and anything on the more armored side. I have 2 Temple Guard for defense, because when you're in late game, you can just spam Temple Guard, and I'd have 5 or 6 of them instead of 2. I stuffed Lord Croak in here because he'd help. I finally got a Skink Oracle, so that's helping. And this is the key to this army, the Slann Mage Priest using fire. So he has Burning Head, and if you have Burning Head, what else do you need? This is pretty good for my purposes, but I'm building walls here just in case. Because sometimes big Beastman stacks will pop up just because. So this is a basic look at what I have for the mid-game armies, but I'll just get you back to my home province. And this is an army that I used to get rid of Bretonia, excuse me, wrong game. Bretonia army that was just roaming around here, so just built something that could deal with cavalry and other stuff pretty well. And so what I did was get some Pterodon riders just because they're very mobile, and in a lot of situations, these are pretty good units, the ones with Fire Leech Bolas. They are much better anti-mass than the normal ones. Salamander hunting packs, I was facing light cavalry archers. So these were ideal to just wipe out those units as efficiently as possible. But Chameleon Skinks are essentially a missile tar pit. They are very, very hard for enemy units to take down because of this missile resistance. And these guys even have some physical resistance also here, but yeah. Missile resistance, that's a really big deal. And that's why that's on the Cult of Sotek side, you almost never get skink skirmishers because they're basically designed to work with Saurus Warriors. If you're not spamming Saurus Warriors, then there's no point. But Chameleon Skinks can screen, they can flank, they can go into the back line, and do all sorts of shenanigans. And they're just very, very, very difficult to finish off. They'll get hurt, magic will especially hurt them, but in the early to mid game, you're not facing tons of magic. So you can get away with a lot. So this is what I have for buildings, because I've taken down some of the economic buildings that I was using in this province, and I put stuff for military. I have this Weapons Crafters Commune to give me one extra recruitment slot. I used to have one of those stone monuments, but I put the spawn pools of the Chosen here because I don't need a tier 3 building in my main settlement. I use that to have the option of having a Temple Guard here. And that's a pretty late game thing as far as I'm concerned with the Cult of Sotek, but you want to be able to have some. So that's important, and thanks to this I can recruit. Let's get out of this stance. I can absolutely recruit. Where are you hiding? More stuff than there used to be. Sacred Croxagores. And you see that their base stats are definitely improved over the regular Croxagores by a considerable amount. Their weapon strength is much better. But they also do magical attacks. So, depending on the opponent, that can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. So even though that I've managed to have just enough of an economic surplus to crank up the beast building to rank 5, I haven't really used much of this stuff yet. I don't have Ancient Stegodons aside from my heroes. I don't have a Carnosaur except for one hero. I don't have a Troglodon except for one Oracle. But I can add them as needed. And I just found out what I'll need them for because I just managed to... I was sending people to confederate, we'll try and confederate Tic-Tac-Toe, and I did about 5 seconds before all his stuff got taken over by Scape. So we have a complete Vermintide going on over here. Actually, there was attrition going on here, and I actually did have the right of Sotek going on, because I was doing attrition to these guys, but all it did was make them crunch down their armies just a little bit. I couldn't save those places. There was just no way. It was at the exact bad time, but that's why Tic-Tac-Toe confederated with them. It means that I'll get the benefit of Tic-Tac-Toe for once, but it means that his whole empire is in ruins. That's okay. We've got a lot here, but we've been blocked from taking the rest of this province because Itza got there first. But I wanted to go after all this side first, and I had already gotten rid of the Hunts Marshal expedition and taken over these areas. And that's where I've stopped, because I didn't go to war with Quetzalcoatl, and I didn't want to go to war with Itza and Gorok, unless I really had to, and there was nothing better. But I took out this guy because he was definitely in the way. And now I have a tier 4 Geometric Spire, because you want happier colors. You want this stuff looking good and pumping out harmonious energy. So these are the issues. Now that I've had more time, so you see that I bothered to build the Cold One caves. I haven't actually made horn ones yet, but I can. I've tried out the Cold One's Spear Riders and the regular Riders, and they're only okay, but that's what I expected. So this is an idea of what I'm working with. Now, because I have a chief in this army with all sorts of regeneration, and I have the sacrifices that can add more regeneration. Even these Croxagors that went down from 12 models to 3, I'll get most of that back in just one turn. I'm just double checking if I actually... Nope. Let's do this. Or did I have it up? Whatever. I'm good to have, glad to have that up even more. Yeah. Anyway, bottom line is that you can't make an army all out of red-crested skinks. It's just not going to work. You don't have the ranged, but a few chameleon skinks and even a few skink cohorts with javelins just to help out. You can fill a lot of spaces, and, well, you see what these guys can do with their stats if they have some dilemmas going their way, the Rite of Sotek, and lots of Tehenhauin, this goodness in the tree. Now, you can say it's a meme, and there are better dedicated skink commanders for this, and that's correct. But it's also an inexpensive unit, and you can get more of them pretty easily in enemy territory when you're conquering. You just need a level 1 building, and you can get more of them. And Tehenhauin can just throw them in his army, or throw them in a new army, and just go to work. So these are some ideas for mid-game armies. I know I'm not doing the usual custom battles thing. I'm not experienced with custom battles for that, but I thought I'd put these thoughts out there and see what people think of them. Because the main enemy really isn't the enemy. The main enemy is that you can't afford everything that you want until you get pretty far ahead. It took me a long time to build this kind of income. So I was dealing with much more limited options. But I'd say as soon as you get to Tehenhauin on his mount, on his final mount, then you're into mid-game. You can deal with things a lot more flexibly. And that'll be it for now. Thank you very much. Until it is off to battle again, this has been Jeremiah Bork.